Hello and welcome to IGPP Expert Talks. I'm Heena Goswami, Editorial Consultant with IGPP, Institute for Governance, Policies and Politics, New Delhi. In our ongoing series about AI, to discuss the issue of quality of data and the biases in algorithm, today we are joined by Mr. Manu Chopra. Mr. Chopra is CEO and co-founder of Karya, an organization dedicated to providing dignified digital employment to economically disadvantaged Indians, offering them a pathway out of poverty. Karya empowers individuals and communities by enabling them to complete high-quality data annotation services for AI/ML clients, ensuring fair economic opportunities. A graduate in computer science from the Stanford University, throughout his career, Mr. Chopra has consistently focused on leveraging technology to enhance human lives. Welcome to IGPP Expert Talk, sir.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So, how stark do you think the issue of biases in data is? And can you elaborate a little on the importance of culture nuances and region-specific data in AI system?
Absolutely. So I think, look, data is fundamentally critical to the AI journey. To building these models, we train these models on millions and millions of data points, and often trillions of data points. And when data sets have biases, those biases tend to creep into the performance of these models. That is an unfortunate reality as it stands today. We have to work very hard to make sure that that doesn't happen. I think today, a lot of the data sets that we use have a lot of bias, a lot of cultural bias, a lot of gender bias, and I think we are very, very focused on fixing that. Now, in our opinion, the best way to fix this and mitigate bias is by building inclusive AI, right? And the best way to build inclusive AI is by employing the people you want to include, right? So you want to build an AI that is gender intentional. We believe that you should employ low-income women to do that work, which I think is so important. So I think we believe that low-income communities in India are both excellent builders of AI and excellent beneficiaries of these AI models, right? So what we do at Karya is we employ communities now in 27 of the 28 states in India. In these 27 states, we identify workers on the ground who come from a diverse background, diverse occupations, diverse genders, diverse, accents, diverse dialects, diverse locations, so that the AI models that are then trained on these data sets, they understand these people, they understand the differences and things like that. I think that's really, really important. That's what we do.
So Karya has been doing some amazing work in involving people who would otherwise, I feel, would be ignored in the whole process of data collection, maybe data collection, but to understand their specificity, nuances, and such. How do you, India with its large population, its diverse geography, how do you see India as a global leader, especially with reference to providing quality data to different stakeholders, including industries who are involved in the process of AI development and deployment?
I think it's a phenomenal question, right? And I think, look, India, I believe very strongly will role model how AI can be a force of good for the world, right? I think as someone who has studied public policy documents, AI documents that, multiple countries have put out, the India AI mission is among the most progressive public policy documents on AI and ways we democratize access to it, from things like the Future Skills Mission, which is focused on upskilling people, to what the government is doing with the datasets platform. I think it's just incredible, truly, right? I think it's just very, very inspiring. Now, for India to become a global leader in AI, right? I think we need to recognize the strength, the brilliance, the intelligence of our people, right? India is, the world's third or fourth largest economy, soon the world's second largest economy, hopefully very soon. So of course, there's a lot of in-house demand for data, right? A lot of like our own people deserve and need and are willing to pay for access to AI solutions. So, of course, there will be demands in serving them, but also from a global perspective, we need data that Indian organizations can easily provide, especially if it's data in English. And by the way, this is all training data. None of this is personal data at all, right? Like this is all about training data for these AI models. And I think India's Nandan Nilekani said in a recent interview that India will be the use case capital for AI in the world, right? This is where AI will get used. And I think I completely agree. I think this is where AI will get used, and this is where AI will get built, right? I would say India is already among the most important countries in the world for AI, given the talent concentration in the country. But I think as we build deeper data pipelines, as the government starts upskilling millions of people to become AI engineers and AI builders, you will see like India role model how AI can be a force for good in the global ecosystem.
Tell us a little more about empowering and motivating different genders and underrepresented communities to contribute to technological development as an entrepreneur. Also, were you involved in other initiatives before Karya? How did this idea come to be?
Yeah, absolutely. So look, I had the privilege of having a very good education. I went to my schooling was in Delhi, and then I got in a very phenomenal school, and then I went to Stanford, where I studied computer science and AI. I graduated, I think, June of 2017, July of 2017, I forget. And then 4 days after I graduated, I moved back to India. So I was always very clear that I want to come back and think deeply about how do I solve problems we see in our communities using technology, because that's always something that I wanted to do. Growing up, I really looked up to people like Dr. Kalam, who like spent their whole lives making the world a better place just by being such an inspiration to so many people. I think I had the chance in high school to meet him once, and it was a life-changing, meeting. He was so kind and pushed me to find out ways I could contribute and be of service. I often feel like service is the most divine thing you can do. Like it is the most soulful. It is the way we should all be spending our time, is by choosing to just serve our communities, our people, outside our communities, outside our people, right? The whole world is our people. So I think that it is so important that we do that. And I think that I'm so grateful that I very early in my life have discovered what I want to do for the rest of my life, right? So I started Karya in 2017 with my co-founder, Vivek Seshadri. Vivek had finished his PhD from Carnegie Mellon. He's a genius tech person, and both Vivek and I dreamt of Karya together, along with some phenomenal researchers like Bill Thies, Indrani Medi, Kalika Bali, these incredible people in Bangalore who had also moved to India. All of them had also moved to India for the sole reason of creating impact and finding ways that technology can be a force of good. 2017 is when we started. So it's been 7 years of Karya as an idea. And we just did a lot of research. We would go to the villages. We would, show them the app that we had built, and people would, like the very first person we had worked with, she looked at the app and said, "Iske andar Surya Dev hai," or is the sun god inside this? Because this was in a village with no electricity back in 2017. And I was doubtful. I was like, oh, I don't know if she could do this work. I didn't say it because, of course, you don't want to ever say it. But I was proven wrong. Within 30 minutes, she came back to me and she said, "Why did you think this was hard? This is so easy. Like using a phone is so easy. I just press this and I just have to read out sentences in my mother tongue. This is not hard at all." Right. And I think that it's just reaffirmed the brilliance, the aspirational life that like so many of our people have. And I think we realized very quickly that people in our communities will be excellent builders of these AI data sets. The question then became, okay, how do we pay them what they deserve? Right? I don't believe at Karya we overpay our workers. We pay them what the market is willing to pay us. Right? So we pay them 20 times the Indian minimum wage on average. a significant portion of the client revenue is redirected back to the workers, so we can build pathways out of poverty for them. So the motivation just comes from the sense of, look, I think in India, we have leapfrogged in the last 10 years, right? If you think about it, things like UPI, Aadhaar, I mean, just our airports. I just landed in Bangalore, and just the Bangalore airport is just so world class. But like there's just or Bharat Mandapam in Delhi. There's these government sourced models of excellence which are so inspiring. And of course, in the private sector, you have things like Geo, right? Like people in our communities wouldn't be able to do this work if Geo didn't give them access to such cheap data, right? In the most remote parts of the country, like in fact, I often joke I get better data, I get faster data in our villages than I do in San Francisco, right? Because the data networks in the country are just so good. So people can download a 10 megabyte image and annotate it for a self-driving car without having to worry about who's going to pay for this 10 megabyte data. And of course, we will pay for it, but we just don't. That question hasn't come up because the data costs are so cheap, right? And I think that inspires that. I feel like in India, we are standing on the shoulders of giants. We have built a country in a generation. And I deeply look up to the people, of like my parents' generation, who have literally built this country from scratch, and who have built these, from that. And my hope is that I get to contribute to the larger Indian story, and so does everyone that we work with. I think together we can create some small impact, and that would be amazing.
So my colleague briefed me that women play a very important role in Karya. How did you come across this idea of managing the best resources on ground by bringing women to do their hardest job? And how did you convince them to get the text, voice, and image data in vernacular languages? Can you share a little bit of your experiences on the ground with us?
Absolutely. I think that 60% of our workers are women, and of course the team is the Karya team is now 45% women, which is very, and we will get to like quality and hopefully more, which would be amazing. Look, I think there's lots of research that shows that women uplift societies. I think this is really, really well known. I also believe that unfortunately, in the larger history of our global society, women have been kept away from wealth and kept away from financial freedom, right? And this is not just an Indian problem or a Bangalore or a Delhi problem. This is a global problem, right? We recognize this, right? And we believe very strongly that if you can change who has wealth in a community, you can change who has power. And if we can make it more equitable so that, like most women and most men have access to wealth, you are creating a more equal world instead of a world today where, due to a lack of financial freedom, it is really hard for women to be independent. It's really hard for society to enable that. And I think it's really, really important that we fix it. It's not just like I think the Prime Minister and several people in the government have spoken about this time and again, right? India cannot become a developed country without having high levels of female participation in the labor economy, right? In the formal labor economy. And I think that it's really, really important that we build a more equitable world. What we see at Karya, we've just wrapped up a 3-year RCT with JPAL. And what we saw was, Karya triples the job take-ups among women versus a formal economy office job that doesn't come with flexibility, because Karya work you can do anytime, anywhere, wherever you want, whenever you want. It is fundamentally more malleable to the very busy schedules of most women in India, right? Because there's so much to do, there's so much social pressure. That's one. The second thing we noticed was Karya increases the likelihood, like it acts as a gateway to formal economy jobs. So women who do Karya work post making money on the phone, like in their homes, they feel there's an increased social sanction for them to leave the house and do formal economy jobs, which is very exciting. And also hearteningly, when women do Karya work, their households become less traditional and more progressive on gender, because the child can see that, oh, my mom can do this work, which means this is work that any woman can do, and they can be the primary breadwinners in a household, which is very exciting to see. So I think, look, I think for us fundamentally, we want to work with all communities that need the money that Karya provides. I think it's really important that we use the opportunity that AI is coming up with, and we use it to build gender intentional, transformative AI modules, right? Like, I'll give you an example. If you use some of these, translation tools online, and if you say the doctor is coming, you translate it into Hindi, it will say doctor aa raha hai, right? I think now they've started fixing it, thankfully. But until last year, even the most popular translation softwares had this doctor aa raha hai. You could say the doctor is coming and her name is Reena, and it would say doctor aa raha hai or uska naam Reena hai. Right? It almost like rejects the explicit assignment of gender, right? And instead assumes that a doctor is a man. And that's obviously far, 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 far away from the truth. And this is also true across other gender profiles, job profiles, and things like that. And we fundamentally want to build a world where, like the technology works for women as well as it works for men. So it needs to understand women. It needs to understand the different needs of the women, and that is also true for men, right? It's just so important that we live in a equitable, equal society. And the good thing is for us to help AI models become less gender, less misogynistic. We simply have to employ more women, which leads to more jobs for women, which is fantastic, right? Which is what the world needs anyway. So I think I'm very excited about the prospect of Karya to enable impact on women communities across the global south. I think that would be fantastic. Yeah.
Were there also challenges in having women on board, or was it a rather smooth journey?
So we work. Our execution team is just brilliant. Like the operations team, the on-ground execution team is run by Jivita Satish Kumar, who's been doing execution for the last 15 years. So she's just phenomenal at finding people. The execution team also has just the most incredible rock stars. We're a team of 20 people in the execution team who find the workers on the ground. I think we're also very grateful to our partners. We have a network of 200 plus partners on the ground in these communities that help us find these people. And because these partners live in these communities, they've rightfully earned the trust of these communities. We present to them, pitch to them that, hey, this is what we want to do. This is the minimum wage your workers will make. This is how many hours of work we can guarantee. This is what the work looks like. And when we convince them to do it, they make a recommendation on our behalf to their workers. And because they enjoy trust in the community, and rightfully so, because they've been serving, their communities for longer than I've been alive, for 30, 40, years. So it is a responsibility we take very seriously. And then, of course, when you pay people on time, which is something we do, loyalty and the word of mouth just gets over. So now being able to attract people just through a referral system, that people can just refer their friends to do this work, and that also really helps us. Yeah.
When we talk of the quality of data and biases in the algorithm, the question of whether government should play an active role in providing data to all stakeholders that comes into play. Are you in favor of government creating public spaces for collecting data, or taking some initiative in ensuring
Absolutely.
that data is available?
And look, the government is already doing it, right? I feel like every time I talk to, countries outside India and I'm talking to policymakers there and tell them about Bhashini, they're just shocked. They're like, wow, that's so cool that the Indian government is already doing this, right? And we are already, Bhashini and what Bhashini is doing, and we are, honored to contribute to Bhashini at Karya. It is such a huge deal when the government decides to help build critical and open source critical language data sets, so everyone has access to their language, their data, so they can build technologies for their communities. I think the government has done a phenomenal job, both with the datasets platform, the India AI mission, Bhashini, there's so many incredible things the government has done to open source access to data. Now, I do believe the government's job should be to build the building blocks, which is what the government is doing, right? We also need to ask the private sector to come in, right? Like we need to ask the big tech companies in India, outside India, to also invest their resources in building bias-free data sets, right? The responsibility cannot just fall onto the government, right? I'm so grateful that we have a government that cares so deeply about equity that they're doing things like Bhashini, and that's fantastic. And may that continue forever. Hopefully, it will. But at the same time, I think it'll be really exciting that if organizations from the civil society, citizens, collectives, non-profits, for-profits can come together to collect and open source other forms of data, right? So then, it's like a stack, right? So the government build the building block, and then on top of that, people can create domain-specific data sets that help build specific applications. So I think it has to be a collaboration, and the government agrees with it. Bhashini hosts these incredible hackathons where they invite startups to build on Bhashini, and there's so much work happening in that ecosystem, which is very nice to see.
Do you think private sector and civil society have not been able to do their bit?
I don't think they have. I wouldn't say that. I think they're doing it. I think we just, as citizens of the country, need to do more, right? That's just where I always come from. But I feel like, look, I'm so grateful for without things like Geo, we won't be able to do our work, right? I look at what Sarvam.ai is doing. It's incredible, right? Like they're open source, like these phenomenal models. I look at what AI for Bharat is doing. I look at what CIRA is doing. I look at what like Microsoft Research and Google are doing. Google supports Project Vani, where they're open sourcing data. Microsoft Research has been open sourcing Indic language data for so long. So I do think the private sector is doing a lot. I think we should all just do more. You know what I mean? Like I think it's both an acknowledgement of how far we have come. We have come a long way on Indic languages. When we started our work in 2017, much less data was available. So I'm so grateful that we have come so far. But I do think the private sector and civil society organizations like Karya, we should all do more, right, to serve the country. And I think it's our patriotic duty to make sure the AI we build is inclusive, equitable, and truly works for everyone, everywhere.
Thank you